The ceremony of Zosham, a chance for Tibetans to cleanse the soul and cast out evil spirits, a time-honoured tradition performed everywhere with one notable exception, their homeland. In Chinese-controlled Tibet, such celebrations are mostly banned, just one part of a systematic repression of the Tibetan people and their culture. Across the mountains in Nepal, more than 20,000 Tibetans have lived for the best part of 50 years since they fled the invading Chinese army. At the Jampiling Tibetan refugee camp in Pokhara, the old people, alone with prayer and meditation, devout followers of the Dalai Lama and the peaceful pursuit of a free Tibet. But it wasn't always that way. Once they were American-trained fighters who staged armed resistance to the Chinese for more than 10 years. Most of these men were trained by the CIA and they fought the Chinese. But for more than 35 years they've eked out an existence as second-class citizens in a land not their own. But each one carries with them the hope that one day they'll be able to return to a free Tibet. Pema Dorji was one fighter. Originally he was a monk, but laid down his prayer wheel, picked up a gun and defended his homeland.
I'm not ashamed that I left monkhood. I left to fight for my country, not for my own personal gain.
Most of our fighters were not well educated or well trained. We didn't have many weapons either, but we were still willing to risk our lives for our country.
The Dalai Lama ordered them to lay down their arms in the early 1970s to avoid more deaths, but Tibetans are still risking their lives to protest and to escape the yoke of occupation. This young man did a few days ago. Speaking on condition of anonymity, he told how it took 3 months to get out of Tibet, and he described the brutality of the Chinese security forces that is still happening.
In my village, those who didn't sign the paper denouncing the Dalai Lama were put in jail for 7 to 8 years. Some of them are tortured badly. Some of them had their arms and legs broken, and some had their eardrums broken. One nun was killed.
The Tibetan diaspora largely survived through handouts from the international community or by selling trinkets to tourists. Most believe they will one day be able to return to a free Tibet, but in Nepal, since the pro-Chinese Maoist government came to power, life for Tibetans has become more difficult. This businessman didn't want to be identified because he fears reprisals.
Our parents used to speak openly about what happened in Tibet, but now the present situation really makes it hard. So even now we cannot educate our children what's happening in Tibet and even here.
It's a country most young Tibetans born in exile have not seen. And although some learn the language and culture and sing of going back, the path to a free Tibet is not a short one. The Chinese have economic might and the power of a huge army. The Tibetans have only the Dalai Lama and the power of their faith. Tony Birtley, Al Jazeera, Kathmandu, Nepal.